Okay. So let's dig into each one of these areas of how does one go about, if they were to do it themselves, how
Sure.
does one go about staying on top of it and claiming? So let's start from the top. We're going to just focus on inventory leakage, not the fee discrepancies. That's a little bit more complicated. We can have a whole different episode about that because it can get fairly detailed. So sending into the FBA. So you send 100 pieces, because usually sellers have multiple SKUs, so they're replenishing multiple SKUs all the time. So it's not as simple as, okay, I send 100, they receive 95. It's a lot more complicated. But what happens when you send a shipment and it's received short? Walk us through the process of the timeline, when to know that that's it, I have to do something, and then how do you go about it?
Yeah. So just talk about timeline, which is time sensitive. In the US currently it's 9 months. And in Europe, it's 6 months, meaning you have 6 months or 9 months respectively to file a claim. Once you file it within that window, you could extend it if you have reasonable trail of evidence or support. But if you wait 6 months and 1 day and you're missing $100,000, that's it. Like, that's the expiration. Like, you will never ever have that money. Which is why, again, when people wait, this is a process, especially inbound, which I'll get into. It involves documents and involves some light work, which we try to help automate. But if you're not on top of it, that 1 day in Christmas season when you had a huge shipment loss, you'll never see it again in your life. This is not something that people think about. They think in general, I have insurance for this or that, or my carrier. Like, if you're not on top of that window, you could wait till the 6th month, you could wait till the 5th month. But if you don't do that, it's gone forever. Zero chance of recoverability. And you can't even claim it with your own insurance company. You basically like just, burning your inventory. So the way it works is that most sellers know if you do FBA or if you're new, Amazon has a dashboard, which is kind of primitive, honestly. Okay, Nick, you sent 100 units, we got 98 minus 2. And it shows you that on a dashboard level, not on a report level. You actually have to log in. There's no API for this. This is the bit manual, which is challenging in our business. The real way to properly do an audit for inbound, they actually have case managers going into every shipment on the back end level, which is hard to scale with the clients that we have, but it's necessary. Meaning the API won't show you a discrepancy report on inventory inbound. You have to go in. Some people do that right away and they're good about it. And it says like, hey, Nick, we didn't get these 2 units. And then you say, no, I shipped them. If it's small value or you're a good seller, often they'll just credit you. But usually they'll say, and they used to always credit, or you would send a screenshot or something primitive. Now, for several reasons, they're very meticulous about it. So you need to show a proof of ownership. If you're a private label seller, that could be an invoice that you bought it from a factory in China or Mexico or US, which people don't like to give because you're showing Amazon their source, and there's theories that Amazon likes to go around sellers, and who knows. Also, it's private and you don't want your company to see it or your people to see it. But most people don't know, which is huge, is that if you are a private label seller or a brand that has a brand registry, you can actually send a signed packing list, which is as simple as, hey, I, Nick, shipped these units on this day with this tracking, and here's a document signed. Sounds easy. Now, believe it or not, Amazon doesn't have a way to export that. They don't accept screenshots. And most known ERPs in the space don't have that document. It's not really like a packing list in the logistical world. It's just like a note that this happened. When you ship units from one place to another, there's a record. But unfortunately, there's no formal way to show that, specifically this instance. So all the different ERPs I've used, there's never been a way to say like, hey, here's what shipped to Amazon. It either just had units or it had like a tracking. It didn't have a whole formal document with a signature. So what we did at Katita, and you guys could do this on your own, is we created a formal tool called DocMaster, which is actually patented technology, which pulls in all the data points from the API and the backend and renders documents for you to sign. So you can't make stuff up or be dishonest. I mean, you can, but that's not welcome and not our problem. Nick, click here, I shipped 100 units, yes. Or you know what? And you have to check. I actually shipped 98, even though you say 94. With that process that you could do through us, I mean, you could make a spreadsheet on your own or Excel. It's a bit more tedious and you don't know what to make it for. we tee it up for you. So you could just do click, 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 approve, you sign a legal affirmation that this was actually happening. So it sounds simple, but you can't imagine how much money we've recovered just with that one document that people don't even know about or understand. We had a seller once, I think this is important, from South America that was talking to my partner Yoni about how there's millions of dollars they lose because they don't want to give up their source. Meaning they know they lost inventory, but they're afraid to show their factory invoice. So Yoni said, like, hey, dude, like, I don't know if you know, but you don't have to. He's like, what do you mean? Long story short, Yoni explained that we could do a signed packing list, and the guy started crying because he realized that he literally threw millions of dollars down the drain out of ignorance. He didn't know that you could do it. And Yoni said, not only can you do it, but we'll help you do it. And that was a very touching story because now he has those millions of dollars that he lost, but unfortunately the amount he lost is never recoverable. It's just an example, just like that whole thing I spoke to you about achieving sale price. Like people just don't know. There's so much going on, but this is all that we do. So again, back to the story, you have that proof of purchase. You also need a proof of delivery. So proof of delivery is interesting. If you use Amazon Partner Carrier, which is Amazon's UPS or Partnered Freight, it's their rates, it's their system. Presumably you have the tracking. And if you know what you're doing, you could actually point them to that or say, hey, it's your tracking, you have that. And we have ways to do that. That's kind of easier. If you don't use Amazon Partner Carrier, you need to get a tracking document, which, believe it or not, from a FTL or LTL or freight type of environment could be hard. So you have to show Amazon that you own it and that you shipped it. And what we try to do in our portal and our services help you do that. We try to automate within reason and legal confines the generation of the proof of ownership, which is the signed packing list. And we try to integrate, obviously, with Amazon AGL and Amazon Freight and Amazon Partner Carrier, but also other carriers, any other carriers. It could be Old Dominion, it could be FedEx, it could be DHL, to get your tracking document. Again, whether you're a small or big company and there's different departments, these are things that you need to have.